Hey everybody, welcome to my channel. It's me, Henrrey. Today we're gonna continue to learn the third chapter of the book, The Weight of Life by Kazuo Inamori, Sharpen and Improve the Mind. Let's get started. Section number 8, How to Eliminate the 3 Poisons. The so-called honey refers to all kinds of happiness that satisfy the human desires. The dragons waiting for people to fall are the imagination from human. It directly reflects the ugly thoughts and desires from people. In other words, the red dragon represents anger, the black dragon represents desire, and the blue dragon represents stupidity. 3 poisons: greed, hatred, and ignorance. They are called the 3 poisons in Buddhism. The 3 dragons are the 3 poisons. As Gautama Buddha said, these 3 poisons are the elements that can destroy life. Among the 108 worries, the 3 poisons of desire, ignorance, and anger are the culprits that cause human suffering. It can also be said that they are inseparable toxins that are entangled in people's heart and cannot be avoided. Indeed, the so-called human beings refer to the creatures who spend every day under the influence of these 3 poisons, hoping to live a better life than others, hoping to rise to the top sooner. Most people have these desires in material, fame, and wealth in heart. If the desires are not realized, they will be angry. Why can't you get what you want? On the other side, they will be jealous of those who have already achieved what they want. Most people are always affected and tortured by these desires. This is almost the same for children. Example, my grandchildren. If you dote on one of them, the other will immediately show an expression of jealousy. During his 2 or 3 years old, he was already poisoned by this kind of troubles. Of course, desires and worries are actually the driving force for humans to survive and cannot be denied altogether. However, there's also a vicious side, which continues to cause human suffering and even ruins one's life. In this way, the so-called human beings are such carnal animals. At the same time, it is a toxin that may cause our own misfortune or even destruction. Therefore, it is important to stay a distance from desire as much as possible. Even if the 3 poisons cannot be completely eliminated, you still have to work hard to control yourself and suppress the 3 poisons. There are no shortcuts in specific methods. I diligently practice the easy way of honesty, gratitude, and self-reflection mentioned above, or ask yourself to develop the habit of rational judgment. For example, we have to make judgment about various things every day. Most momentary judgments are the answer derived from instinct, desire. So, before answering the other party, once you retain the original judgment, ask the other party to wait for a while and ask yourself, is there my own desire at work in this idea? Is it mixed with personal selfishness? In this way, by adding a rational buffer before drawing conclusions, it is possible to make judgment based on rational judgment instead of desires. At least setting up a rational way in the process of thinking, I think it is extremely important to stay away from desire. To suppress desire and selfishness in ourselves is to practice altruism. I think altruism is the highest and the best of all virtues of mankind. Ignore yourself and think of the benefits of others. Devote yourself to the world before you. Once this kind of altruism develops, human beings can survive without being deceived by desires of the world. Moreover, with the altruistic thinking, the toxins of worries can be disappeared. The filth of desire can be eliminated, and the beautiful mind can be revealed, and the beautiful wishes can be realized. Section 9. The true sword brings you success, and the evil sword hurts yourself. I will elaborate on altruism in the next chapter. We do everything for the world, for others. The dreams and wishes based on this beautiful heart will surely come true, because it is the best belief. The best result can be achieved in the end. On the other side, if this is an evil wish based on selfish desires, even if it can be realized, it will end in a temporary period of time. The words from Walko's father, Mr. Koichi Shukamoto, it was drawing the evil sword. Mr. Shukamoto and I are both industrial and business people in Kyoto, so we are very close friends. He is a survivor of the war. At the end of the Pacific War, during the stupid and cruel Japanese war in Myanmar, there were many victims. He was survived and returned to the motherland. Among the 55 people who once belonged to the same team, Mr. Shukamoto was one of the only 3 survivors. Later, in the chaos after the war, he started as a retail jeweler and soon founded Walko. Because of his survival experience, he said, "The gods are with me." Because of the gods, all the wishes of this kind in my career have been realized. His vice president said, it is exactly what Mr. Shukamoto said, except when the president draws the evil sword. The president held 2 swords, the true sword and the sword of evil. Among them, it is true that all of them can be successful when the true sword is drawn, but everything is not smooth when the evil sword is drawn. This is the evidence that the president has the gods to follow. The gods will help when the true sword is drawn, but the gods ignore when the evil sword is drawn. That's what the vice president said. It can be said to be very clear. The so-called evil sword refers to evil desire. It is the idea of only calculating personal gains and losses, mixed with selfishness and desires. Even if the desire is temporarily fulfilled, it will never last long. On the other side, each of us prays and works desperately to realize a certain wish of our own. If it is a good wish that is far away from one's own interests and desires, then the wish will surely be realized, and it can be realized for a long time. Sometimes, no matter how hard you try, you still can't get your wish. But often when it is nothing you can do, the spark of inspiration to solve the problem will be shown. It makes people feel as if they have been blessed by the gods, as if the creator of the universe pushed ourselves from behind. God has been watching all people's words and deeds, right and wrong. Therefore, in order to achieve success or continue to maintain such success, people must have kind and beautiful wishes in their heart forever. Therefore, first of all, be selfless and think with a pure heart. If you put up the right sword, with this idea, you will surely achieve success in your career and enrich your life. Section 10. The joy of labor is the greatest joy in the world. From the above, I have talked about some methods of working hard to hone the mind and improve the personality. In order to make the career successful and life to be fruitful, diligence is a must. Diligence means working hard and concentrating on our goals. Through such diligence, human beings can acquire a rich spirit and a good personality. I think it is the work that humans can truly feel happy about it. Some people may argue that working hard is boring and tiring. They think that life requires entertainments. However, the so-called entertainment and play can only be realized after the work is fulfilled. Even if you're not serious about work, you will still can get happiness in the world of interest and play, but it is only temporary happiness, and you will not be able to experience the joy that comes from the bottom of your heart. Of course, the joy of work is not as simple as the sweetness of candy in the mouth. As the motto, labor has bitter roots and sweet fruits, say, it permeates through pain and hardship. The so-called joy of work is a feeling hidden beyond hard work. Because of this, the joy of labor is special, and it is definitely not a substitute for play and interest. Working hard and the sense of accomplishment after overcoming pain and hardship and achieving success is an irreplaceable joy in the world. In life management, it is the work that gives the highest joy. Moreover, the benefit of concentrating and working hard on the result of work is not only has a sense of accomplishment, but also to build the foundation for a good personality. In Zen Buddhism, the monks in the temple do all the daily tasks from preparing meals to cleaning the courtyard, but these tasks are the same as practicing meditation. In other words, there's no essential difference between working hard in daily life and practicing meditation in seeking spiritual unity. The work in daily life is also a practice, and you can reach the realm of enlightenment by concentrating on work. The so-called enlightenment is to improve the mind. The ultimate and highest state of mental training is enlightenment. The so-called method of enlightenment is the 6 parameters advocated by Gautama Buddha. Section 11. Remember the Gautama Buddha's 6 parameters. The so-called 6 parameters means that in the Buddhist path, in order to get a little closer to the realm of enlightenment, the path of Bodhisattva must be carried out. It is indispensable practice for honing the mind and improving the soul. They are mainly the following 6 items. First, giving. Have the altruistic heart for the world and others. Work for the benefit of others and have compassion for others. People need to consciously cultivate this spirit. The so-called charity is generally used in the meaning of alms. Originally, it meant that all sentient beings would be benefited even if they sacrifice oneself. Even if you can't do this, you must have at least a kind heart. Human beings can improve their minds because they have compassion for others. Number 2. Practice the precepts. It is about the evil deeds that one cannot do and emphasizes the importance of practicing the precepts. As already mentioned, human beings are the carriers of all kinds of troubles, and it is difficult to get rid of the 3 toxins of desire, ignorance, and anger. So you must restrain yourself from the troubles and control your words and deeds. We have to suppress the greediness, jealousy, anger, the worries, and desire. Number 3. Diligence. Dealing with anything wholeheartedly means working hard. The so-called hard work, I think it must be the spirit of never surrendering to anyone. Through the example of Ninomiya Sontoku introduced in the preface, we can know that only such hard work can improve the mind and strengthen the personality. The lives of great people in ancient and modern have proven this point. Number 4. Patience. Don't give in to suffering. Endure it. Life is turbulent and will encounter all kinds of sufferings. However, only by not surrendering, not escaping, being patient, and working hard can haunt our minds and our humanity. Number 5. Meditation. In a noisy and busy society, we are often chased by time. Without the time to think deeply and walking in rush hours every day. In spite of this, it is necessary to meditate at least once in a day. Observe yourself quietly, concentrate, and stabilize your sweet mind. It is very important to take a little time during busy work to calm our mind. Number 6. Wisdom. Through the above 5 cultivation efforts of generosity, precepts, diligence, and forbearance and meditation, we're getting closer to the wisdom of the universe and the state of enlightenment. At that time, you can get close to the truth that restricts the natural forces of the heaven and the earth. In other words, it is the wisdom that Gautama Buddha said. Section 12. To sharpen the mind through daily work. The 6 parameters refer to the path to enlightenment. Among them, the easiest way to practice in our life and as a way to improve our minds, the most fundamental and the most important thing is diligence. Working hard without hesitation. In other words, when we want to improve our humanity, we don't need difficult practice. Just give yourself a role in an ordinary life or the business you should be engaged in. Whether it is official work or homework or studying, you must carefully and tirelessly adhere to it. This is a practice for honing the personality. In other words, it is in the daily work that is enough to practice, improve the mind and step on the road of enlightenment little by little. Like a carpenter who builds a temple, he puts his whole life into this profession and works diligently for a long period of time to hone his skill and humanity. I strongly felt the charm reflected by these people. From the young age to the 70s or 80s, his personality and sense of existence are being highlighted without a single word. Trees have life and trees have language. This is a saying by an ordinary carpenter who is nobody. In my opinion, a carpenter who speaks this way is more noble than any great philosopher or religious man, constantly working hard, going through all the hardships and striving for perfection. Because of such diligence, the height of the soul and the depth of the personality they have reached, I should not be the only one who is impressed by it. From this incident, I have to think of the dignity of labor again. I deeply understand the saying, awakening is in daily labor. This is true not only in the world of craftsmen, but also in the world of sports. Mr. Ichiro, a baseball league player, is also a person who has repeatedly reached the top of his professional field. Since elementary school, he has dreamed of Major League Baseball. He has not rested even for a day, and he has even repeatedly practicing his playing skills. In the age of playfulness, he has already determined his goal and studied towards the goal. It is said that when he was in high school, he said, "You want me to play safe, and I can play the way you want." He can say this because he had enough hard work behind him, so I don't think it sounds arrogant. In the end, the result of such diligence is the reason to make who Ichiro is today. No one can become a successful person without diligence. We love to work, pay no less than anyone's efforts, and devote ourselves to the work. Just through this, we can learn the meaning and the value of life, hone our minds, strengthen our personality, and understand the true meaning of life. Section number 13. The meaning of labor and the pride of diligence. At the beginning of this chapter, we mentioned the virtues of humility, and now we talk about the virtues brought about by diligence. Aren't these all spirits that we must re-examine and restore? Since modern time, especially after the war, the meaning and the value of labor has been a bit too materialistic. The biggest purpose of labor is to obtain material abundance. Therefore, we are accustomed to think that the so-called work is a means of providing our own time and energy in exchange for corresponding remuneration. Naturally, an idea arises from this is because labor is a drudgery that has to be done in order to obtain money. It is possible to make more money as easy as possible. Everyone thinks this idea is reasonable. This field of labor has spread widely in Japanese society and even penetrated into the field of education. However, educators are closely related to the formation of children's personality during the growth period, and they guide and help children. Because of this, the profession of teaching goes beyond the scope of simple labor. Teachers must face the respectable profession of students with their completely personality. It's the sacred profession. But now, the teachers themselves have this kind of pride, thinking that they are just laborers. In order to engage in the work of conveying knowledge, they cut their time to sell as retail in order to obtain rewards of equal value. They devalued their status and gradually lost their self-esteem and sincerity as faculty members. I'd always think that this is the indirect cause of problem of inadequate classroom teaching, which symbolizes the obsolescence of education. Nevertheless, before the period of rapid economic growth, we still possess the spirit of diligence that did not hate work. However, once the Europe and the United States criticized the Japanese for overwork and should play more, Japanese officials and people hurriedly shortened working hours and increased entertainment time. After the age of working hard, which seems to be a crime, the virtue of diligence has fallen to a very low level. I don't want to deny the European and American style of labor that uses leisure times for entertainment, but I think that the act of accepting and despising the value of labor without criticism is a big mistake. In the same way, it is wrong to treat labor as a material means just to obtain food for life. Labor also has the spiritual meaning of honing the mind and the personality that I have already said. Originally in Japan or in the East, the spirituality of labor, using labor as a way of improving personality, has long existed. MacArthur, the supreme commander of the Allied forces who ruled Japan after the war, mentioned the Japanese view of labor in a parliamentary testimony on the Far East policy. He said that the labor force in Japan is not inferior to other countries in terms of quality of work. Japanese laborers think that working is happier than playing, which means that they have found the dignity of working. We Japanese have once realized the profound meaning and value of labor and know that the attitude of diligence is connected with a sense of pride and the meaning of survival, and can create a rich inner world and even experience the meaning of life from work. The spiritual pleasure that we feel when working, adding our own creative skills to the simple labor to make work more enjoyable, is not a passive work forced by others, but becoming the subject of labor behavior. We have indeed had these spirits. We possessed this before, but lost at the current moment. Shouldn't we re-examine the meaning of labor for Japanese? People grow up at work in order to improve the inner self, enrich the heart, and concentrate on work. In this way, we can make ourselves a better person. That's all for the sharing today. If you find value and like this video, please consider to hit the subscribe button and share. Most importantly, leave your message here and let me know what you think. I would love to read your comments and reply to your comments. I hope to see you in the next video.